Sister Pietrina Raccuglia. I entered the Institute in 1964.
Thank you. Now, you told me an interesting story of how you came to meet the sisters and how you came to meet Cabrini and how your family came to meet Cabrini. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and my mother lived on Van Brunt Street when she was a child, and the sisters had a school right across from her house. It was a storefront. So my mother went to that school till 8th grade. And then when I was a child, just about 2 or 3 years old, my mother introduced me to Mother Cabrini. She had a great devotion to Mother Cabrini. And I lived in a neighborhood in which the sisters would be all around. They would walk down the streets, they would visit the poor, they would visit the Italian families, they would have a biscotti and a cafe, they would go to the hospital when someone was in the hospital. So our sisters, our Cabrini sisters, were very visible in my neighborhood. And I must say that the school had over 1,000 students. They had 3 classes of everything, and I went to that school since I was 5 until I graduated from the 8th grade there. And the sisters witnessed to me the love of God, the love of Jesus, and the love of God's people in the neighborhood. They were just so good and kind and loving.
So what do you think was the deciding factor for you to choose to come into the Institute?
What brought me into the sisters was basically I witnessed how they lived their lives for God. And I felt, well, I went to the grammar school, I went to the high school, and I figured, I really feel called by God, and I think I want to try this out. I wasn't going in saying this is going to be permanent. I went in saying, I'm going to try this out, see how it works. And it's worked for 59 years, with good times and with difficulties. But I think the real question for me is not why I came, it's why I stayed. For me, the reason for me staying is that as I grew in religious life, I grew in a deeper relationship with Jesus. And in that relationship with Jesus, I was able to manifest that by trying my best to love and serve his people.
And where and how did you serve these people? Where were you missioned? What kind of work did you do?
Interesting. I was missioned only in the United States. I was missioned in Brooklyn. I was missioned in West Park. I was missioned in Denver, California, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Basically what I did, I began as a teacher. Then I became a principal. After being a principal, I studied and became a marriage and family therapist. I worked at our high school as a guidance counselor. Then after that, I became a provincial for 6 years. And after that, I worked in immigrant services, serving immigrants, which is my passion. I have a great passion for our immigrant brothers and sisters. And then after that, 10 years of that, I became provincial again for 9 years. And then after that, into fundraising and development for our institute. So I've done a variety of things that each time I felt like God was calling me there. And then I needed to serve in that capacity. I've done formation work. I was a junior directress. I was a mentor. And now I work on the visas for our sisters coming from Ethiopia.
So you've worked for 59 years in this. You knew the Cabrini sisters coming in. When you first entered the order, what did you know of the charism?
We didn't speak of the charism. We only spoke of the spirit of the Institute. And it was one of caring for one another and caring for God's people. That was basically what I understood it as I entered. As we went on, we started to speak of the charism. And the charism says to us, basically we are to be bearers of the love of Christ. And what I think it really is that we need to be in relationship with other people, with our sisters, with our brothers and sisters in the world, our relationship in our own communities, outside of our own communities. And this relationship with the world is very important to me, because I really believe that knowing what's happening in the world and praying and doing some action steps to help change that is what our charism is all about. Our charism evolves. It is not stagnant. It's alive and well.
So, what's it like to live in community?
Interesting. Some communities are easier to live in than others. But I found over the years, if you talk about it, you communicate about it, you speak about what is disturbing you, etc., with the people in the community versus just with the superior or the provincials. Because what are they going to do? I was a provincial. There's nothing you can do to change your sister. You know, you have to work it through the community. So the community has always been a great support for me, the wider community. I have had the privilege, really a privilege, to just travel throughout the Institute, to attend many international meetings, and to practically know every sister, you know, in the Institute. And to spend time with them when we were at these meetings or we were at chapters, etc., because I attended maybe, I'd say about 7 or 8 chapters, and it has been just a privilege.
So, 59 years, what do you think is one thing that stands out, one life-changing moment, something that really touched your heart?
There are many things, but one thing that stands out for me is my work with immigrant services. Because, as I said before, my passion is migrants, immigrants, refugees. I worked in Chinatown and lived in Chinatown and loved it. But there's one particular family that stands out. This one day we get this phone call in the office, and I had only been in the office for 2 weeks because we were starting this service. And we started it with the idea, let's sit here and see what the people need versus having a plan. And the phone rings and the social worker calls and says, oh, I have a family here. And the Children's Services has taken their children away from them. And they're undocumented, without papers, and therefore they're just treating them unjustly, inhumanely. And the mother just had a baby, and they're going to come and take the baby tomorrow. So will you be able to take the baby and the mother into the convent, into your office, or whatever it was? And I said, no, I can't do that, but I'm going to give you a phone number of someone who can do that. And I gave them the convent phone number because I couldn't put the office at risk. And I would have to call my boss and then the pastor. So I gave them the convent phone number, ran up the steps to the convent. Woman called, and she said, I'm calling because I was told by Sister Pietrina to call you, etc. I said, yes. What can I do for you? And she explains the whole story about the coming to take the baby. And I said, sure, bring the mother here tonight. I will talk to the other sisters in community and the lay person and see what they think, and the pastor. And all were in favor, and that night the woman showed up. And she stayed with us, and we went to court, and we won the case. She got her kids back, but it really impacted me to see how we were treating people who don't have papers. And I just went back to my grandmother. My grandmother came here without papers, and then she became what you call a legal permanent resident. And then during the war, she was Italian. So during the war, she became an enemy alien of the United States. And I have her card. And she had to report every single month to the immigration place. And she would say to me, never, never will I become an American citizen, because I had my 3 sons, 1 Marine, 1 Navy, 1 Army in the force, and they treat me like this. And my sons are fighting my sister's sons in Italy. So I just have this passion for immigrants. And we're still in touch with this family. Their kids are like 30 years old, and they still meet with us and everything.
Great story. Great story. So, how would you describe your current ministry? What are you involved in now?
I'm the president and chairperson of our Mission Foundation, which is development fundraising. And I feel really like we're putting our money on mission, versus we don't have the sisters, to go to the border, and we don't have the sisters right now to do certain things, but we have some monies that we could send to the border and partner with these groups so that we could help all those trying to get into the United States. We're partnering with many different organizations. But for me, what it means is, even sitting in my office, I'm on mission, because I'm going to Mexico, Philippines, Central America, Uganda, being able to help the people there through our fundraising efforts.
So if you think back, what do you think has been to you the most personally fulfilling part of this wonderful life?
My relationship with Jesus.
Tell me.
Over the years, I've had some really great mentors. Sister Patricia Splain, Sister Barbara Leonardo, tough lady, but good and helpful to me. They have really helped me over and over again to really define who I am in relationship to Jesus. And this life has been wonderful for me, in growing in that relationship. I say all the time, God cannot be outdone in generosity. There is no way God could be outdone in generosity. And God has been so generous to me. I thank him, but I can't thank him enough. So for me, the most important piece is that relationship with Jesus that allows me then to go out and be a witness to his love.
So if you think about this long history, this 59 years, what would you say to someone who's considering a religious life, or this religious life?
I would say to them, get a good, seasoned spiritual director. Really see if this is your call. And then if you decide, then both yourself and us will see if you fit in this religious life. But the most important thing for you to do is really feel this as a call to be a witness of God's love to the world. And our world is upside down right now. I mean, every day there's a violent shooting. There's something happening. And when it hurts, children, it's just a terrible thing that's happening. So basically, the person has to really desire to do something good. And I would tell the person it's a life worth living, but it is not an easy life. It really is not. You meet many challenges in ministry. You meet many challenges in your community. You meet many challenges in working with partners, too.
So I know you've answered this already, but if you had to give your elevator speech about what it is meant to be a Cabrini sister, how would you describe that? A couple of sentences.
I would say it's a life worth living. Because, number one, You get the opportunity to deepen your life with Jesus. You get the opportunity to serve his people, the most vulnerable in all different parts of the world. And you get the opportunity just to grow in love. The wider community, our sisters throughout the world, they're just wonderful people. You know, we've really been well trained in interculturality, in inclusion, in formation. We've had so much. And basically, it's a joy and an honor just to walk this road with these people who have done marvelous things. You know, compared to the little things that I have done, they have just spilled out their whole lives, you know, in starting the new mission in Ethiopia. Our sisters now in Central America, in Nicaragua. And it's so difficult, but they keep on keeping on for the love of God and the people.